Guys, there's a brand new movie out starring Ben Affleck, Matt Damon, directed by Ben Affleck, called Air. It's about the Nike deal with Michael Jordan, and I can't wait to talk about this movie with you guys. So anyway, let's get into it. Air stars Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, Viola Davis, Chris Tucker, Jason Bateman, and is directed by Ben Affleck. What's up, guys? Welcome to a brand new 2023 review. Air was a movie that I didn't even plan on going to see like immediately because I had a press screening for it. Long story short, I went to a press screening for another movie. That movie was showing a week later, so I got my dates mixed up. But they happened to be showing Air, and I arrived a little bit early, so I asked them if they could just go ahead and get me in Air for that press screening, and they got me in there. And boy, am I glad they got me in there, because this, for me anyway, is like the biggest surprise of the year. Did not expect how great, not good, great this freaking movie was. And I should have known better because it was directed by Ben Affleck and starred Matt Damon. When those two work together, you almost can't lose, just because their chemistry with each other, their acting chops are just so infectious and charismatic. So anyway, the quick plot synopsis on this is the early 80s, I believe 84. Michael Jordan was, a very young, fresh NBA player. Didn't have much in the way of credentials. He wasn't what he would eventually become. And Nike is not the company that they would eventually become because of Jordan. They were constantly in the running with Converse and Adidas. Jordan didn't want to have anything to do with Nike at the time. So this is really the art of the deal, and how impactful just a single person and their passion can be, because Matt Damon plays this character, Sonny.
This is where you come up with a brilliant idea that no one else can see. Let's hear it.
You asked me what I do here. This is what I do. I find you players, and I feel it this time. Yeah, okay, it's risky. When you were selling sneakers out of the back of your Plymouth, that was risky. Don't change that now.
For a rookie,
yes,
who's never set foot on an NBA court.
Eventually gets Jordan to come over to Nike. That's not a spoiler because we know Jordan was with Nike. So this is really just how it all happened. And I have to say, I love this type of stuff, this behind the scenes type stuff, how these deals happen, be it behind the scenes on movies or just how these big contracts happen. I love documentaries anyway, and I'm sure there might even be like a documentary out about this. I'm not sure. I'm the type of guy that I can sit and watch a documentary on a subject that I'm not even really that interested in, as long as it's put together quite well. Ben Affleck directs this movie in such a way that it just constantly keeps you on your toes throughout. And even though you know what the outcome is, you don't really know the nuts and bolts, the minutia inside that made it come to be. And I think it takes a charismatic character to be the thread, the glue that puts it all together, and Sonny is that, played by Matt Damon. I'm constantly reminded how great of an actor Matt Damon is and just how charismatic he is. He's a scene stealer. He always has the floor with any scene that he comes into. Like, just to give you an example, there's a scene where he first meets Michael Jordan's mother, Dolores, played beautifully by Viola Davis. And he's just so charming because it comes from the heart, Of course, there's some planning there. You have to be strategic and you have to have a game plan going into trying to secure a deal like this. But there's some truth behind it. And if there isn't, at least he sells it in such a way that it's there. And so you as a viewer are just rooting for him throughout the whole movie. And also, Matt Damon, he's propped up by this massive ensemble cast. And you could say these are character actors, even though Jason Bateman's a pretty big star. But you could have put, just a regular character actor in that role, and I think it would have worked just because this particular character that he's playing was a real guy, and he's pivotal, to the story, just as much as Sonny is. But, Jason Bateman, another freaking awesome actor. And he's another one of those actors that I tend to want to watch anything with Jason Bateman. Definitely check out The Gift if you haven't seen that from a few years ago. Loved him in that movie. I'm sure the big question is how they handle Michael Jordan. And what I'll say is Behind the scenes, I know Ben Affleck, when they reached out to Michael Jordan, they said that we're not going to do this movie unless they had his blessing. And obviously they did. And I think Michael Jordan is handled appropriately and perfectly throughout this movie, because this is more about the deal. It's not about Michael Jordan per se. It's about how the Air Jordan 1 came to be. And by the way, I looked up how much a pair of those is on eBay. It's like anywhere from $60,000 to $100,000 right now, which I'm surprised you can still find them new. Speaking of the 80s, this movie just screams 80s, because I've seen some movies where they claim to be in the 80s, but when you're watching it, you're like, that looks like it was filmed today. You know, this feels like the 80s. That TV that's behind me there, that is a 1983 Color Track 2000. That is my baby. That is Jolene, and she'll always be a part of me, and I would never, ever sell Jolene, okay? That's how much the 80s mean to me. This movie felt like a time capsule and just going back and stepping foot into that era, and I loved it. So even though this is a movie about Michael Jordan and Nike and all that, there are so many little winks and nods and Easter eggs about the 80s. And if you are, of my age range, then you're going to have just a big fat smile on your face throughout. But this movie just has so much heart, and the characters are so rich, and it's just such a refreshing movie in this day and age. You don't see too many movies like this come to the theater these days. Everything has to be freaking a sequel or some kind of comic book movie. And it can get a little daunting after a while. And this was just, the audience that I saw this movie with, they were just elated. They were loving every second of it. And it's funny. There's a lot of funny moments throughout this movie, even though it's a true story. So I'll say right now, this is one of the best movies of the year. Easily in my top 3. I'm going to give it a Trapped on an Island. I was just so into the behind the scenes of Jordan. I've always been a big Jordan fan anyway. And so this was just another little piece of that Jordan pie that, it's a little treat. So I can't recommend this movie enough, guys. Please, please run to the theater, see Air as soon as you can. Let me know what you guys think. Also, be sure to come over to Killer Flicks, where we talk horror all day and every day. On Fridays, we do Free for Fridays. Follow me at Drumdums on my socials. Support me on Patreon. Buy me a coffee. And guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Drumdum out.